Oh, hello, I didn't see you there. My name is Abe Hunter, and I'm the founder of the Lead Society. And today I'm with my trusty co-host, Richard Olarsaba from sunny Florida. Richard, how are things in sunny Florida?
It's actually rainy today.
Wonderful. And Zachary James is back on the show. I'm always shocked and delighted when people come on the show twice.
Thanks for having me back.
And who have you brought with you this time?
Ooh, I have my favorite soprano in the world, Nielson, and Arkansas Country Music 2020 Entertainer of the Year, Bonnie Montgomery.
Ooh, hold on.
That's our full studio audience.
Yeah, they're a little slow today.
Well, we're all still waking up.
Well, welcome. And so what brings us all together today? Zachary, you're one of the hardest working folks in show business, and there's a fantastic project you've got going.
Well, thanks. Yeah. So we were supposed to be doing a recital at Carnegie Hall in November, which is...
And for those of us that don't know, Carnegie Hall is...
it's a little tiny venue in the middle of New York City. It's next to a couple delis, across from a Starbucks.
Oh, I know it.
Oh, the Starbucks. Yeah, okay.
If you're walking past it, you can't miss it, but not everyone knows.
I know that I know that. Yep, that's the Starbucks.
Yeah, there's like three Starbucks.
Yep.
It's positioned between three Starbucks.
Okay, got it.
It's near. If you've heard of the Rockettes, it's nearby where.
Oh yeah, of course. That's Starbucks.
Yeah. So we were supposed to be there at that venue doing a recital in November, and we all know what happened. Venues are shut down, even that little old Carnegie Hall. And so we decided to instead put out an album of the entire program, and to top it off, make it a visual album, because Beyonce has kind of reinvented this genre after the Beatles truly invented it. And so, we have a collection of really fabulous work by all-female composers, and it's some couple singles are already out. Kristen Hebner's The Raven and Bonnie Montgomery's Song Beyond Words. Bonnie wrote this song for Megan and I, and it's a very special piece. And Bonnie is a country music artist, but also an operatic composer. She wrote the opera Billy Blythe, based on the teen years of Bill Clinton. Very successful new American work, and kind of a cross-genre celebrity we have with us today.
Aw, thank you, Zach.
True story.
Well, ladies, since this is your first time on the show with us, we usually like to give people a little introduction to who you are, and I believe we have a couple clips so everyone can get acquainted with who you are and catch up. Abe, I'll let you take it away.
Okay. Well, how about we begin with our Zach's favorite soprano. This is a aria about art. Do you want to set it up for us?
Sure. This is from Puccini's Tosca, and in this scene, it's Act 2, and Tosca has been trapped by Scarpia, and she's kind of lamenting to God why she's in this situation, and she says she's lived her life for art, and she's been a holy person of God, and in the end, like, why God, why is this happening to her?
And that's I say that every day when I go
why God? So I think it's very familiar for many people to be that exact situation. So that's the setup.
Fabulous.
Why God? Why?
Here we go. Superb.
Thank you.
Why was there a guy just sitting in the middle of the? Was that Scarpia?
Yeah, Scarpia. Yeah.
Oh,
He got stuck there.
Captive audience.
Oh my God, just gorgeous. And another gorgeous song we have. Oh, do you need a moment?
I put on eye makeup for this, and now it's gone. Megan, your voice is just it makes me cry every time. It's so beautiful.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you for playing that, guys.
Well,
I mean, so you didn't realize this is all just an affirmation meeting, so we're just here to give each other compliments.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We could all use it.
Yes.
Does anybody have anything for me?
I love your lighting, Abe.
Oh, thank you. You know, it's
that
really
curtain too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just, you know, I just drape myself in velvet all day long.
I love it.
Bonnie, so we have would like to play your song Forever. Would you tell us about that?
Sure, yeah. This song is the title track off of the most recent full-length album that I put out. And what I sent you is the Forever intro. So on the album, we did several versions of this song. So, you know, there's the full version of it with the full country band with steel guitar, fiddle, drums, bass, you know, guitar. But then we did 3 different versions of it. And this one is just, I believe it's the one with Spanish guitar and steel guitar and voice. So there's 4 different versions of it on the album. And we did that because we were really inspired by Willie Nelson's Phases and Stages when we cut this album. And he also did that. It was like this thematic thing that like was woven throughout the whole album of his. And I was like, we got to do that. So we would change the keys and the texture and the instrumentation of it every time it came in. So sort of a classical technique, right? So it was fun to do that in a country album.
Fabulous.
Sweet.
Here we go.
I have never been to Texas when the sun it didn't shine. So I'm leaving here tomorrow, leaving all my troubles far behind. When you join me on the highway, how we loved and what we shared, all the music and the laughter, what an evening, what a pair. But love goes on forever, and the highway lights, they do shine, and I will never leave you, even in the darkness of the night.
Bonnie,
Excellent.
fabulous. There's such
Thank you.
a quiet sophistication to it, which
Thank
I love.
you. I forgot that there was also violin in there.
Oh, it's
How could I
fabulous.
forget?
You'll make a country fan out of me yet.
Oh my. Yeah. I mean, I do think there's a lot of country music out there that could be very classical-ish, if not for the boxes that we put everything in.
I mean,
Like the
just-
Patsy Cline stuff, you know, with the full orchestra from
Mhm.
like the 50s. It's gorgeous. And what makes that country exactly? Like Sweet Dreams, that song of Patsy Cline, it's just strings and her. So anyway, obviously this is a subject I could talk about.
I mean, if you don't mind, I'll piggyback on that for just a second because, like you said, this application of especially country music, Patsy Cline, you know, Zach's matron behind him, Dolly Parton, that you talk about like what song can do in any facet of genre and like application, that it's all about the storytelling. And, you know, you mentioned Patsy Cline, and with Dolly Parton, you're talking about two ladies in country music that is what they do, is tell stories through music. And who says that can't be worthy on a recital stage or a classical venue than anything else? And that's kind of like what you guys are doing, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it might be with this song that we've done together. Yeah, that's a cool idea or observation.
Yeah.
And like, I just think about what, especially pandemic times, but like what this time that we're away from our audiences, what we can actually like new things we can bring to the venues, to just like the full landscape, that what defines music, what defines art song, who cares? Like that's what really comes down to. Because I even think about you know, pop artists like A Fine Frenzy. She put out an entire like song cycle. It was just an entire album of like one giant work over the course of several tracks. And it's like, why not actually do that kind of thing?
Yes.
And make it approachable to multiple audiences, as opposed to, like you said, putting ourselves in boxes.
Taylor Swift just came out, new album, second
Yep.
pandemic.
Also, like Mariah Carey's most recent album, it was reviewed, and it was like, what is this long recitative?
Yeah.
Like they said recitative in a Mariah Carey album review, and it was just like, yes, that's correct.
Like it's just, it's the same construct that has
It's all the
been used in opera and song for centuries. So why not? I mean, we all know where music came from. It's all the same place. So why can't it be accepted in the same venue? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, especially because opera used to be like the people's music. It was like rock and roll. It wasn't separated like it is now. So I think about that a lot.
Yep.
And kind of, Zach, I wasn't on the show at the time, but I remember listening to the last time you were on the roundtable discussing this project way back when, that for our audiences and the people, obviously it's not going to be limited to just the audience in Carnegie Hall, that you're able to get this to a wider you know, number of people. That what was kind of the impetus of all of this to like really do this collaborative effort, not just with the female composers and poets, but also just like mix of genres, and like what the three of you really tried to, you know, accomplish with it.
Yeah. I mean, that's just who I am as a singer, because I didn't really train formally in opera except for 1 year, and I quit after that year. It's the year I met Megan in University of Tennessee, Knoxville. I was there getting my master's, and it just like was not a fit. And I was coming from getting a musical theater degree, but I also like, my dad is a jazz and blues guitarist, so I grew up like with that. So, and I was a classical pianist, so like all these things, to me it all makes sense that this is all just music. And when I remember in college, like I had a professor, I was taking an opera workshop class, and he just said like one day, like, what is opera? And we were all like, well, you know, this type of singing. And he was like, no, what is opera? Like, and we boiled it down, and it's like, oh, just telling a story through music and words. And like, if the and what makes an opera? And he was like, if a composer calls it an opera, it's an opera. So this kind of like really blew my mind. And you know, Megan and I started the Metropolis Opera Project in New York, and that was our whole thing, was like just doing crazy stuff and calling it opera, and seeing who showed up, and like giving people a Pabst Blue Ribbon at the door, and
Perfect.
and people loved it. And but that's been kind of my whole thing, is like, you know, I say this all the time, but I'm going to say it again, like opera has a crisis in this country, and classical vocal music has a crisis in this country, because only 5% of the country has experienced an opera. Yet we're all going into this genre and trying to make careers, and it's like, we have an emergency. Like, we can't expect to have a career when 95% of the country doesn't know we exist or has experienced this genre. So breaking down these borders between genres and building bridges to new audiences is exceptionally important. And like Kanye put out an opera last year, and the whole opera industry was like horrified and whatever, but it's like, yeah, but you're missing the point. Like, a bunch of people just saw an opera for the first time. So build that bridge to that audience and invite them over to hear and be like, this is also opera. Congrats on experiencing your first opera with Kanye, but come over and see Tosca now, you know, whatever. But you know, with this album, it's very edgy, and like we have an EDM dance mix on there that has like Schubert in it, and there's a lot going on. But like, but we were gonna do this anyway at Carnegie. Like, the point was never to put on this like beautiful, precious Carnegie recital. The point was to blow the roof off Carnegie and be like, look what we did here. That's not really allowed. And, you know, I was like going back and forth with Carnegie and having these email fights. I was like, I need to bring a computer on stage at one point. We need a DJ on stage at one point. And they're like, oh, the union, it has to, nothing can be touched except by local one. You know, it was just getting so crazy. So when we lost Carnegie, it was a bummer, but like, I think all of us had a collective sigh of relief in that we were actually allowed to do 100% what was in our hearts without these rules. And also, like, there is something different about creating art where I'm not looking out into the front row of the venue and seeing opera news there reviewing. Like, there's something very different because I'm just here in my home, and then I hit, you know, upload on YouTube, and then we'll find out what people think, but I don't have to look at their faces as they consume it.
Did you ever have any meetings at the local Starbucks?
You mean the one across the street or the one down the street from Carnegie?
Well, the golden triangle.
Yes. Yeah.
I also think it's so important what Zach is doing, because it's kind of transforming, like, as culture transforms and we transform how we actually consume things. Like, how do I like consuming music? Like, I used to have a big opera collection, like vinyl, and like I've moved a million times. I don't have that anymore. Yeah. So now I like to like have my earbuds in and like listen, you know, like feel like immersed and like feel it in my bones and feel it in my body. And I think through Zach's new project and through this like visual album, like you get that experience that you want and that you actually consume every single day, you know. And in the way, it's like bringing opera back to the people, like we were saying, because I think when there's just like so much pomp and circumstance with going to the opera and like being in public and being, you know, experiencing music as a collective, it's also so amazing to experience it like as an individual on your own time, like in your own element. And I think that's really transformative what Zach's doing and how he's producing it himself and how he's experiencing his own art form and making it, and how we're gonna consume it as the consumer. So I think, I don't know, it's really, really cool.
Thanks. I mean, also to say, somebody online this week, you know, saw my Raven and they were like, "What is this? This is a joke? Is this a parody? What is this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, if that's what you think of it, great. Like, I don't care. Did I make you laugh today? Fabulous. Like, you know, I know it's like a really campy Celine Dion like '80s music video, but like that's what came out of
my dream is just to make somebody laugh. Yeah. Anyone."
I mean, you had us rolling at the top of the show, Abe. I mean,
you did.
You definitely have that in your wheelhouse. Like, you're able to bring joy to all of us.
That's my gift to the world.
But, like, to your point, Megan, like, I totally agree that not to necessarily say break down the barriers, but widen, like, the limitations and say that there isn't any limitations. That is kind of, like, important, and it's a definite choice. Like, why not explore that? And, you know, we've had these conversations in like the classical realm of, would you rather have people in the seats who have to be like dressed to the nines and like feel like they have to sit there quietly, or would you rather have like people come to see a show, whatever it is, in their jeans, like eating popcorn? Like, in a way, even if I was going to go see, like, you know, I'll say this and put myself in the line of fire of the Wagnerites, like if I wanted to see Götterdämmerung with, you know, like sitting in my jeans with like a Coke in my hand, like that actually would be a little bit more enjoyable for me personally than having to like dress up and do, because either way I'm experiencing it, correct? So for all those people listening now, don't associate me with Wagner whatsoever, but
Well,
but
and
honestly,
yeah, and it's also like I think it does happen in opera. Like look at Renee Fleming. She like does a lot of crossover. She like the last live performance I saw was Renee Fleming singing Bjork, you know? And like so why do you have to be Renee Fleming to be able to make that choice and like get away with it? Like when we're all opera singers, yes, but we're also artists too, you know? And just like Bonnie's doing, she's crossing over, she's a country singer, but she's a singer, she's an artist, she's a musician, you know? And why are we allowing ourselves to put these limitations on each other in a way? And I think yeah, it's just so thrilling to work with these two that are willing, you know, to like cross those boundaries and cross those limitations and just go for it, even though we aren't Renee Fleming.
And you though, because I have to, speaking of Wagner, like a year ago right now, Megan and I were in a burlesque club, and like I was naked like singing baritone, and she was like doing this Brunhilde, and I was like, hey, well you come down to this burlesque club and put on this rhinestone and sing Brunhilde 80 times in a row.
this one rhinestone.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I mean, that's really burlesque.
Yeah, but the point being, like, she said yes, you know, and not a lot of people would. And now, by the way, it's nominated for Best Burlesque Show of the Decade on Broadway. So
It's beautiful. I'm a super fan.
it was
Love
just like
that
saying yes
performance.
and showing up and like, let's all get in the play box and like do some cool stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Bonnie, like as far as like your background being able to kind of mix genres of like classical approach versus like a country kind of thing, what would you say for everyone in like the musical like, you know, world? Like, I don't know, like what would you like to see happen more so in the future?
Well, I really loved connecting with Megan and Zach back when Billy Blythe was first written. That was like 10 years ago. And we got it up to New York at the Metropolis Opera Project in this amazing theater in Hell's Kitchen, you know, that didn't have an elevator, no AC, I don't think. And yeah, it was.
Pigeons live there. Like,
What'd you say?
some pigeons lived like in the act.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
But that was like after when Billy Blythe first came out, we did it at the dive bar where I played with my country band, this place called Whitewater Tavern. It's right beside the train tracks and it has a gravel parking lot, and it was packed to the gills. We did a showing at midnight and it was so quiet in there. You could hear a pin drop. And the acoustic was actually amazing for an opera. It was like this wooden shell, and we didn't have amplification, and it was so thrilling. And you could just like feel the electricity in the room that night. And I was like, this is what opera really is. And it's just about the media. It's about the venue. It's about the time that it starts, the etiquette, like you're saying, the attire. It's just all these little things that if you move them or remove them, then it just becomes so accessible and so hip and modern and new and fun. I mean, we were drinking, yeah, you know, people were drinking and clanking bottles at times, and it was just really alive. So yeah, I would just say that I think more operas need to be done in bars. Number one.
Taken. I mean, if it's one of those like, hey, like here's a cover and you get a drink, and especially if you're one of the artists, it's like we got one waiting for you at the end of the show. I think we'd have a lot more people participating.
Right.
Yeah.
And loosening up the audience too. It's important because you have to like kind of say like, it's okay to laugh. It's okay, you know, it's okay to enjoy this. It's not a pretentious thing. Like, it's okay.
So what would you say to the staunch classical music goer, and even like those who are maybe even say that like, I'm so inexperienced in classical music, I wouldn't know how to approach this? Because it sounds like what you're able to do is really find a middle ground and say like, come as you are, experience what you want to experience, similar to Zach's point with The Raven, that it's just like, whatever your interpretation is, that's okay.
Yeah.
You're not required to have like this reaction. Like, you're allowed to be open. Like what was that the initial reaction, especially with like Billy Blythe, but in that concept of like having a show in a bar?
Oh man, the first reaction was just pure joy. Everyone loved it so much. It's just thrilling. We have the video and you can hear everybody just screaming, and I mean, it was wild, you know, it was really a wild night. And I don't know, to the staunch opera goer, I would say, you know, look back at Verdi, and y'all remember that story from music history about was it Venice that was getting attacked, and so the opposition came in at exactly the time that the opera was being played, because there was no one in the streets or at home, because every citizen was in the opera house on a Saturday night. It's like, this was the people, this was a rowdy rock and roll concert back in the day. So it's really a shame that it's gotten so expensive or whatever, stodgy, rigid, you know, because I think originally composers were writing it for, you know, the wild, untamed audiences.
I mean, like the music history you're talking about, like everyone talks about the first night of Rite of Spring by Stravinsky and the riot that ensued because everyone was like, what is this? I mean, like similar to Zach's point about reaction, sometimes those of us on the classical stage are just like, anyone? Nothing?
Yeah.
Happy, sad? I have no idea, because you're not even giving me anything. So
That's usually me.
You know what though, like that's my very favorite thing about when we do a dress rehearsal in an opera company and they bring in like 1,000 school students.
Oh yes.
Sorry everyone, they're gonna scream and they're gonna be inappropriate, and it's like, are you kidding? This is amazing. Like, one of my favorite performances ever was Opera Philadelphia, Love for Three Oranges, and our first performance was a dress rehearsal. The entire theater was filled with school students and they went nuts like it was a Lizzo concert, and it was so incredibly disappointing the rest of the run to not have any reaction at all, you know. It was like, bring those kids back who actually like loved and appreciated what we were doing and were vocal about it. It was so cool. It was so cool. And like, just I don't know, I don't get why. Well, you know, it's a lot of things, but yeah, it's frustrating. It's like we gotta shake this up, and it's changing, I think. But
well, and especially with like projects y'all are doing, it's a slow chipping away at the standard and essentially saying that anything's acceptable.
Right, totally. And I've been getting DMs this week like, what is this? What genre is this? Because Song Beyond Words and Raven are both out, and yeah, people are like, what's going on here? And I'm like, thank you. Yes.
It'll take more of this for it to become, for people to feel, for it to do its job. It just, you're paving the way. More people will innovate and be like, oh, if Zach James can do it, well, maybe I can too.
But I mean, that's kind of like, you know, any criticism of the project aside, like I think, you know, any young artist who's looking at this and thinks like, oh yeah, this is different, this is cool, maybe I can jump out of a box too, like that's cool. And like Bonnie's track, Song Beyond Words, to opera people it sounds like a country track, but to country people it sounds like an opera track, and that's really cool. That means we're doing this and meeting in the middle, and I think that's really special.
Yeah, I was just going to say also the subject matter, if we could break that down. Maybe the language barrier is part of the problem, but when you really tell someone the plot of an opera, like what Megan was just saying about Tosca, it's a universal thing. And a lot of times it's really trashy and, you know, sensational. So I think that's a wall also that needs to be taken down.
Right.
You know,
I agree. Yeah. No, this is, we've had Stephanie Blythe on before, and something I learned from her is that her preferable way of doing any recital is to not have a program with the text and translations, where she's like, I'm going to recite the poetry for you in translation, so you already have a concept of what it is, and it's not mine being, you know, supplanted in your mind. It's actually you interpreting what I'm saying. So when you hear it, you're creating, the synapses are connecting themselves. So at the end of the day, if you go and look and investigate the poetry yourself, you'll already have a visceral, like, emotional response to it. So, and she'll even admit, and she said this, that it's mostly to get people's heads out of a program. Like, watch what's actually happening in front of you, participating.
Yeah.
You know, I just have to interrupt for 1 second. Juliana Hall just woke up. She's here with us now.
Ah,
Yes, Juliana.
Where is she?
She's finally tuned in. I think she just finally woke up, I think.
I love Juliana. I can't wait to share Juliana's track with everyone. It's so exciting.
Oh
It's
gosh.
such a
Well, and
wonderful
Zach, when you were on the show the last time, it was with Juliana and
Yeah, and
Caitlin Vincent, which was just, we had so much fun that show.
Yeah.
Oh, Juliana says, "Oh, Abe."
Yeah.
You keep calling her out like this. So Zach, when as you said, like this was planned to be an in-person performance,
Yeah.
you know, before, and having to pivot, as most of us did, have had to during the pandemic, making this a visual album as well. What was the inspiration behind it? Was it always planning to be a visual aspect, even maybe after the Carnegie performance?
It actually, even at the Carnegie, it was going to be a visual aspect because Ellen Jackson, the director, was directing the entire recital. So it was going to be fully staged. It was going to be fully costumed. Sammy Rattel, Billy Porter's stylist, was doing the costumes for it. So it was going to be like very like, oh, what's happening here? You know? Yeah, with translating it all to video, definitely. We've opened up a lot of worlds, you know, because there's just so much more we can do. And it's exciting to also invite in additional collaborators. Like I have a choreographer and dancer, Nick Korkos, who choreographed and directed a beautiful film for one of Kamala Sankaram's pieces. So yeah, so it's exciting. You know, I'm a very visual person. Like I might be more like my eyes are better than my ears for sure. And so it's exciting to just give people a visual world to indulge in if they so choose, and if they don't like my visual world, they can go listen to it on Spotify, and that's okay too. But
can I ask about your visual world in that you know, you there was a post on your Facebook page where you showed your your amazing production studio, your lavish production
I'm
studio
in it right now.
Like that's amazing. I mean, for one thing, I feel like we're all living in the future.
Yeah.
But how did you, just tell me what you did and how you came up with it.
Sure. So it kind of is married to my other life as an actor, because I do film and TV auditions from home like all the time, like sometimes one a day. And so I spend a lot of my time like in front of a green screen, like shooting on my iPhone, and then I send it off to LA or whatever. So I kind of just like took that idea and applied it to to this whole album, and I'm just making music videos here in a 10-foot by 10-foot room, and I'm using a lot of stock footage that I obtained, and also sometimes shooting like. My boyfriend and I went out in the woods in August and shot some material. There's a beautiful, one of the big opening number is Strozzi's Lagrime Mie, and actually Bonnie wrote new lyrics for it.
Ooh.
A total surprise, exclusive news drop here.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
Yeah.
Breaking news. We need the banner.
Juliana.
But you know, so we went out in the woods, and I like got into a stream fully clothed, and we shot some cool vid, and that's going to be dropping soon. But yeah, mostly it's just like shooting stuff here in my studio. I would say though, a lot of what I've learned about how to do this stuff comes from like having to learn new things running opera companies, running Metropolis Opera Project with Megan, and then I ran Opera Ithaca for 4 years. And like when you run an opera company, you just have to know how to do everything. And if you don't know how to like quickly put up a video trailer for your production of Cinderella, like there's no budget to go find a videographer.
And that's expensive.
You're like, oh, okay, I'll do this all night long, and then, you know, publish it at 9 a.m. not having slept. So it's kind of like, I don't know. This project feels like all of my experiences and all of my training, like the musical theater degree, the TV acting, the opera singing, the, you know.
Your role is Lurch.
Yes. But also like directing. I got to direct a lot when I was running opera companies, and I missed that a lot. And now I can direct my own music videos at home, you know? So it's kind of like everything rolled in.
I mean, and what freedom to have such autonomy over how you want, not even how you want to be perceived, but like what your like artistic intention is. You can be like,
totally.
Here it is. Like, it doesn't have to be on the confines of the Carnegie stage. You can really open it up to even more.
And you know, like we work with directors sometimes and it's so free and creative and beautiful and wonderful and like your ideas are welcome. And then we work with directors who are like, stand on this X mark and on this word, raise your right hand and turn your head to the left. And it's like, well, this sucks. So, you know, it's like, yeah, to have that freedom is really exciting. It's really
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, to cut away just a little bit from the project and everything, Bonnie, Megan, I'm going to open it up to you guys. What have you been up to during the pandemic? And do you have any projects coming up that we can help promote, possibly?
Oh, well, I'll go first because I have nothing.
Your album, Heroin.
Yes, I have a new album coming out, 2021, Heroin.
That's it.
We'll
Be on the lookout.
Send me a copy so we can talk about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
That's how a joke becomes real.
For full context, we were joking about this before, and now it's a real project. So
Yeah.
we're going to expect something by 2021.
Heroin. Okay, I'll drop a few, so don't worry. Next time I'm on here. Heroin. Anyway, that's it for me. So Bonnie, you can chime on in because you have a lot of lovely stuff coming up.
I mean, I'm kind of like you. I'm just like, we're just in no man's land. I sort of love it, you know, because there's just no telling what we could all do. Like you could totally put that album out, you know, by February. But yeah, I have a couple of ideas up my sleeve. I wrote my first string quartet during the pandemic because I wanted to see if I could actually do that. I'd never written a string quartet, so that's cool. I would love to premiere that somehow, somewhere in a cool way. And yeah, I have a lot of back catalog, like we were talking about, that I think I would like to release in a creative way right now. And of course, I'm ready to cut a new album, and that's just yet to be figured out. So yeah, lots of ideas.
What about Bill Clinton, the opera part 2?
Yeah,
Billy Black's
I would
return.
love to.
Yeah. You know, where Hillary makes her first appearance. Did she appear in the first opera?
No, this was pre-scandal, pre-presidency. Bill Clinton was 14 through the entire opera.
Oh, okay.
It's a summer in 1959 of Bill Clinton's life. So no scandals, no Lewinsky, nothing. And I've definitely thought about a part 2. It would, you know, there's a lot to choose from there.
The question is,
Be cast as Monica, so
there it is. You can add that to the Heroin album.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Megan, you need to be Monica. If that's
Monica's
okay.
Aria.
for Halloween before, so I'm ready. Costumes already prepped.
Uh-oh.
Perfect.
As long as there's saxophone, I think that's all that the people will require of Billy Black.
Yeah. Wow. True. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Think of that.
Totally.
All right, we're workshopping it here, folks.
I was gonna say, like, this was all the brainchild of all of this,
Yep.
so we'll all get a cut of it when it comes out.
Credits.
Yeah.
Zach, I think he'd make a great Hillary if we get the right wig maker.
Who's Zach?
Yeah, he'd be a great
Oh,
Hillary.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's muted.
No. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I said it would be the biggest honor of my life to play.
I know.
Well, you heard it here, folks.
All right, print it.
Man, I
everyone.
gotta get busy.
By the way, everyone, update from Juliana Hall. She's been awake since noon.
Oh, okay. Me too.
Oh, Abe.
I just love
That's
her.
rock star.
I just love her.
I love Juliana. Yeah. And
I do too.
yeah.
Hey guys, let's look at the song Beyond. Let's listen to it.
All right.
Should I play the whole thing?
Yeah.
Do you need any setup?
Well, let's set it up for if people are just tuning in.
Sure.
Juliana.
Zach, should I go or?
Yeah, you go, and we can chime in if there's anything.
Well, I was so excited to be on the bill for Carnegie. Okay, so I started brainstorming. what I was going to write. And then the pandemic hit, and then I was hitting roadblock after roadblock with the text. I was just like, where is my poetry? What is the text going to be? And I couldn't find it. And then Zach was the one that said, what about like Rachmaninoff's Vocalese? It's just on a vowel. And I was like, oh. And then all of a sudden it's just like the roof just lifted off of my house, because I just felt like total freedom and everything was possible. And it wasn't a defeat at all that I couldn't find the text. You know, it was like an opportunity, which I think is sort of a metaphor for the pandemic. And the attitude that I've tried to have through this whole thing is like, oh, wow, you know, it's an opportunity to go somewhere new. And then I had really wanted to use a text from a Native American poet, and I never found that either. But then I have a Native American friend who was like, yeah, Bonnie, you know, all those ceremonial songs of Native Americans are on a vowel. And I had gone to Standing Rock, which changed my whole life. And I had witnessed a lot of beautiful singing around the sacred fire and realized none of it had words. It was a vowel also. So, and then Ennio Morricone is one of my very favorite, he's just one of my heroes as far as composing goes. And he passed away, you know, and I felt like adding the steel guitar was like a tribute to him. So that's just sort of where the piece came from. And then it became this ethereal thing. And it was also such a thrill to write for Zach and Megan. Megan and I went to UMKC together 15 years ago. So I had remembered her voice all these years as like my favorite, like Zach, like my favorite living female voice that I'd ever heard in real life. And so to study all of her recordings and YouTube videos and everything, and find every little sweet spot in her ranges and write just for that. And the same with Zach. It was like this exquisite process of writing for the most amazing instruments on the earth. So, and then to hear them sing the notes that I was like, ooh, I think she's going to blast this note. Like, and I think she's going to float this note. And then for them to do it was just like this amazing puzzle coming together and the most beautiful ethereal thing. So anyway, this song just came out of the ether and it's something else. Every time I hear it now, I just kind of don't know where it came from. It's something beyond.
It inspired me to become a steel guitar player. I just love it. It's so cool. It's so beautiful.
That's the coolest sound ever.
I love it. And you can, the portamento.
Yeah. And the first time
I know.
Classical
very
vocal
operatic.
Yeah.
And it rings and the tones. It you know, it feels like another voice to me. I love it. And Bonnie plays, which is I love so much.
Here we go, folks. it's
Bravi.
like it's like an infinite. It's a waltz that just goes on forever. I could listen to it on repeat forever and ever and ever and ever.
I mean,
Thank
this
you.
is like those beautiful moments when, you know, as the title kind of indicates, like beyond words, like it doesn't need to be this application of language to make it beautiful. And why not have music? I mean, this is just my interpretation. It's like listening to something out of a Fellini film if it was like set in Tennessee or Texas.
But
Yeah.
it also is like a human Philip Glass. Like, you know, there's just like a infinite quality to it that is just like, but it's not as clinical. It's just
That's
human.
so
It's just really
interesting.
organic.
Not to critique your work, like
No, I mean,
that's
I'm
my
just
first
saying I
lesson
love
to it.
it.
Not at all.
No, I love it. Please, I want to hear everything that you guys think. I do. It's
Gorgeous, Bonnie. This is, I mean,
thank you.
Zach, like Megan, like this is gorgeous what you all did together, but it's, I want there to be more of this kind of thing out there, and
Oh,
thank you for doing it.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. You know, I asked Zach and Megan when we reconnected, because it had been like 10 years since we really worked together. And I was like, hey, y'all, I'm still writing like lyrical, melodic stuff. Like, it's not very in vogue right now. There's not a lot of new music, especially with most of there's just not a lot of new music being written that isn't in this vein of the Philip Glass. I would call it minimalism. Other people may call it something else, but I'm just, I like to write melodies. That's what comes to me. And my heroes are like Gershwin and Copeland and Florence Price. She's a fellow Arkansan, and of course I love Johnny Cash. And anyway, so thank you. I'm glad that y'all appreciate that.
Amazing,
It's
amazing.
stunning. I will listen to it all day. It's in my head. It's been in my head ever since I've been listening to the clip.
Thank you. And thank you to Zach and Megan. I mean, my God, their voices, right?
Oh,
So Zach, you said that you're slowly getting the album kind of like out, little by little. When can we expect to see the full thing?
Like any minute, really. It's yeah, I actually just got an email while we were on this that the final batch of mastering is done. So
Yes.
yeah, so it could be uploaded and ready on music streaming as soon as like Monday. I would expect the full film and will be released by Friday the earliest, so let's say a week. And it's one of those things, it's like so much work, and it's like a pandemic quarantine project, but the more work you put into it, the more it becomes, because you're like, well, we did this, but like we could make it a little more perfect now.
just
And
one
it's like,
more thing.
yeah, it's no longer like a diorama I made in third grade, it's taken on a life of its own, and it just wants to be better and better. So I'm just kind of listening to that voice and not sleeping a lot.
Follow
and,
your heart.
Yeah.
Well, and this is one of those things that, like, if it has to have a cap just because it can't be infinite, this is when the three of you come back together and say, hey, let's do a part 2.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And, this whole thing came about as like a kind of a crazy, wild dream, and I didn't know how long it took to cut an album. I thought it was something you do in a week, because they do say like, oh, Taylor Swift just made an album in quarantine. Here
Oh,
it is.
yours
But
took longer than a week?
a little tiny bit. Yeah. But like when we hear these things like, oh, Lady Gaga made a music video on an iPhone, and Rihanna made an album in GarageBand, you don't know that there's also multi-million dollars budget behind it. So the equipment is one thing, but the budget and the people resources are another thing. So I didn't really know. Now I know, and we're busting it out. I'm really proud of it. And in addition to the full visual album, all of the pieces will be released as individual music videos as well. So
Nice.
the idea is you can consume it on audio individually, or as a full album. You can watch the full film, or you can watch the individual music videos. And there's a lot of surprises in it, and I'll just leave it at that.
There you go. Wait for the surprises.
Yeah. There's a lot of like connective tissue between the songs.
Okay, so it's one.
This
So
is
I
a
see. It's one of
family
those things
show.
that you're like, you won't know unless you listen to the whole thing.
Yeah,
Get the whole thing. You, as much as you want to just consume it, maybe, you know, in little samples. Like, no, get the whole thing.
But you'll know, like, if you go to watch the full, what I'm calling the film, which I don't feel comfortable calling it that since I'm not a filmmaker.
You are now.
Sure. But if you go to watch the full film and you press play, you'll know within like 10 seconds that it's going to be a wild ride.
Can't wait.
But now, when does the VHS version come out?
No.
When can Abe pick it up at Blockbuster?
Yeah,
Blockbuster. R.I.P.
We should have a watch party.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I leave that to you guys. Set it up, and we'll blast it for you.
All right.
I have lots of listeners and watchers, and I don't know what.
Well, it's interesting too because Kristen Hefner and I embarked on this journey to put out a Raven, and we were like, it'll be like 10 minutes long, and we weren't really thinking like, oh, it's 18 verses, that is a 20-minute piece, you know. But so we were kind of bashful about this, like, oh God, we feel so bad, like. But I've gotten so many messages like, thank you for putting something long out because we have nothing to do. So it's kind of, you know.
I know. I just watched my last episode of The Crown last night. I don't know what I'm gonna do now.
Exactly, though. But and Netflix now has that new feature, like, watch whatever, you know, press this button and we'll play something for you. You don't have to decide. So I think that's just where we're at right now after a year at home. So I hope people, you know, enjoy it.
I think we need a whole album of vocalese.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh.
And you have to hear Bonnie's string quartet. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's true though. And if you don't know Billy Blythe, is there a place that listeners can hear like anything from Billy Blythe?
It's on YouTube. Ithaca's full production is on YouTube. So is OBU. Yeah, it's there. Yeah, it's fully there. The Whitewater version that I told y'all about is on there with hilarious official intros. You just have to see it. We were trying real hard on a very low budget, so
welcome to my world.
Obvious.
Yeah, well, all of us, right? All of us.
Exactly. It's what we're all doing these days.
Yeah.
Everyone, this
cool.
has been a fantastic, fun show. It always is with Zach. Hopefully he'll agree to someday be on a third time, but I would love to have Bonnie and Megan on.
Anytime.
I was going to say, ladies, don't be surprised if we ask you back, especially when that string quartet is like fully realized, Bonnie, like come back and let us know. Even though this is the Lead Society, we want to hear about everything.
Yeah, we're equal opportunity here, and Megan, we'll get you to Minneapolis to sing once things allow us to do so.
I would love that. I'm a fellow Midwesterner. I'm a Wisconsin by birth, so I'm ready.
Well, welcome. Okay, now everyone, this is the time when we play our theme music.
Right before, since we like to promote our artists, I'm gonna do a shameful plug.
Oh my God!
This Sunday, so this is December 13th. Lyric Opera Chicago through the Ryan Opera Center is doing a special virtual concert called Pasión Latina. It's all Latin-based music by Latino singers. I'm one of them, so that's why I'm doing it. It'll drop 6 p.m. Central Time, but it'll be online for everyone's consumption. So there you go.
Don't miss it. America's bass baritone. Well, sorry, I have to say America's second bass baritone because Zach's here.
I'll take America's Mexican American. I'll do that.
American.
There you go.
Okay.
We have to qualify
everything. This Sunday at 6 Central.
Mm-hmm.
Lyric Opera Chicago. Thank you, studio audience. Where have you been this whole time? All right, everyone, shout out time.
To anybody you want.
Oh, I got to shout out to Kevin Skurla, the steel player who rocked it on that song. Boom.
Amazing. And Kevin, you've inspired me to learn steel guitar.
Good luck, man. It's got like pedals and knobs and then like a bunch of strings.
Oh, I thought it was just like sliding something up and down like this.
I mean, it's right up there with like the hammered dulcimer. It's on my list.
Megan.
There's a lot to it.
Thank you to your husband's comic book collection.
Yes, thank you, Ricardo, for comics. I don't know. That's all I got. I got nothing. Shout out to your dog.
Oh
Abe,
my
it was
gosh, my little girl's just so sweet. I'm playing the intro again because we didn't get
another.
it. And Zach, thank you. And what who's your shout out today?
I just got to say, all the artists involved on Call Out, because everyone's like, oh, wow, you're doing this crazy thing all by yourself in your house. But it's actually not true. There's 25 other artists involved. So shout out to everyone just for saying yes and showing up with such open
We have
hearts.
time. You can name them one by one.
It's that moment at the Academy Awards where it's like, you better say everyone's name, or they'll remember.
Right. But I do want to say, just because this is what I'm working on right now, is the music video for Renee Orth's Jabberwocky. It's so cool, and it samples Schubert's Erlkönig. So it's
Fabulous.
kind of we'll have to come back on the show and talk about that, perhaps. Just inviting myself.
We'll
back.
wedging your way in as usual. Thanks, everyone. Good afternoon.